Hi, this is Mrs. Rutherford. Today we are going to be working on some extra practice for the piecewise function graphs. So here's number 5 from the worksheet we did in class. Here are the expressions, here are the domains. So my first domain goes with my first expression. This domain can also be written like this, where I have my -1 and then my comma 2. Parentheses with the -1 because there's no equal sign, a bracket because there is an equal sign. This one can also be written the same way. Because 2x is greater than 2, I know 2 is my smallest number, and my largest x value will be infinity. And I will have parentheses around both of those. Okay, now first to start, I'm going to start with my -2x. I'm going to put my lowest x value, my lowest domain, which is going to be -1. So I'm going to have -2 times -1, and that's going to give me a +2. Now this is my x value I plugged in, and this is my y value I got out. So that is going to give me -1, comma 2. Now I'm going to plot that point. So first let me make this a graph with the axes. Okay, so I have -1, 2. Okay, and this is going to be an open circle because there is no equal sign right here. Now I'm going to plug in my second number. So I'm going to have -2 times 2, and I'm going to get -4. So now I'm going to have my x value, which is 2, and I'm going to have my y value, which is going to be -4. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to graph it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be a closed circle because there is an equal sign right here, or because there's a bracket. Okay, now I need to connect these two. Now this shows that any numbers that are greater than -1 and less than or equal to 2 will fall between this line. To double check my work, I'm going to check my slope. It is a -2, which means I'm going to go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. Good, I made my line correct. Okay, now I'm going to do my second one, which is going to be my 3. Now this is for any number greater than 2. Now since there is no x value here, if I put in a 2, I'm still going to get a 3 out. If I plug in a 3, I'm still going to get a 3. If I plug in a 4, I'm still going to get a 3. Because there's no x, no matter what number I plug in, my answer will still be a 3. But it has to be a number greater than 2. So for my first point, my x value is 2, and I get a 3. My second point, my x value is 3, I still get a 3. My third point, I get a 4 for my x, and I still get a 3. So now I'm going to graph this. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It is going to be open because it is not equal to. And I have 3, 3. And I have 4, 3. The reason why these are dots is because it is true that 3 is greater than 2, so this dot will be included. And any spot, any number will always be a 3, so I will put an arrow there. That is because this number is infinity. If this was a number, then I would not put an arrow. I would have either an open circle or a closed dot. Okay, and then that is what my graph looks like for number 5. Number 7, it is asking for the domain and range. So the domain, I am going to be looking at my x values. That means I'm going to be looking at what is the furthest number on this side of the graph and what is the furthest number on this side of the graph. So my smallest number is going to be right here, and that is going to be -1. That circle is open, so it's going to not be included. It'll be excluded, so it will be a parentheses. And then my furthest point is right here on my green. However, it continues. And so it will be right here, which is my infinity, which will also be excluded because you can never reach infinity. Okay, so now we are going to look at the range, which is my y value. So this is my lowest y value, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. Since that is a closed dot, it will be included. Okay, my highest y value, right here. I do not include every number. Right here it stops. So at 2, here it will start again at 3, but everything between 2 and 3 is not included. So I need to make sure I write a 2 right there because that is where it stops and it is open. Now here for a 3. However, what's my second number? I don't have one because it keeps going on and it will always be at 3. That's fine. My 3 is also going to be included. The reason why it is included, even though it's open right here, everywhere else, the 3 is included. And that is your domain and range. Here is number 12 from the homework. This right here is supposed to be a negative infinity. What I want you to try right now on your own is I want you to try to find the coordinate points we are going to use for the first expression, the second expression, and the third expression. Okay, here are our points. For the first one, which is going to be our green one, I cannot input negative infinity into the equation, so that means that this one is going to have an arrow on it. Okay, so first I'm going to plug in 0, 1, 0, 1. This will be an open circle because it is a parentheses. Now, I do not have another circle to connect my line or my graph. So what I have to use is I have to use this right here, my x squared plus 1. I need to know what kind of graph that is. Would it be a quadratic or would it be a linear? This one will be a quadratic. So I can just draw the shape of a quadratic. Now, if I draw it on both sides, however, it is only true for any number between negative infinity and 0, which means greater than 0 does not count. So I had to erase that part. Now, for the second part, right here I have 2 points. I have 0, 1, and 2, 3. So 0, 1 is right here, and it's going to be included because of the bracket, so I'm going to color it in. Okay, and now my second point is going to be 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This one is going to be open because of the parentheses. Now all I have to do is connect my dots, but I'm a good student, so I want to double check my slope and make sure I did that line correct. Right here, my slope is an invisible number for my coefficient, which means it is going to be 1 over 1. So I'm going to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Good, I did my line correct. Then for my last one, I have this point. I cannot plug in infinity into my equation, so it will be an arrow. So first I'm going to go to 2, 3. It is going to be colored in because it is a bracket right there. And now I'm going to have to do an arrow, so I'm going to have to continue what this line would be. Again, I have an invisible coefficient, so that would be -1 over 1. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. That is going to be my line. And since it's infinity, I'm going to have an arrow. And that is what your graph should look like. Okay, I want you to go ahead and try to answer 13, 14, 15, and 16 on your own. Okay, so on here, finding the range, we are looking at our x values. Even though this arrow looks like it's going up, it's still going this direction, which means my x values are getting less and less. It's going from -3 to -4 to -5 to -6. So that's negative infinity. And then the same on here. Even though my arrow is going down, it's still going to the right, which means my x values are still getting higher. It's still going to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, here, finding f of 2. I can look at my graph, but in case I did my graph wrong, it's good to look back here at my expressions and my domains. Now, if I'm looking over here, I want to see which one includes the 2. This one has a 2, but it's not included. This one is included, so I'm going to use this original equation. Negative, and then I input a 2. Negative 2 plus 5 is going to be a positive 3. Decreasing intervals. Again, you are only looking at the x values when it's intervals. So decreasing, I read the graph left to right, this direction. If I start here and end here, I decreased. So my x here is going to be my negative infinity, and my x here is going to be 0. I decrease again, starting here, which is my 2, and I will keep decreasing forever, and that is my x approaching infinity. Okay, and then on end behavior, right here, as my x approaches negative infinity, because my x is going this way, my y is going up, which means my f of x is approaching infinity. When my x is approaching positive infinity, my f of x is going down, which is approaching negative infinity. Okay, and then this is the one from the review. First, to evaluate m of 0, I do not plug 0 in for all 3 of these. I only plug it in for the one that 0 is included. Right here is my bracket that is included, so I'm going to use this equation. So I will have 3 times 0 plus 1. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1. I'm going to get 1. M of 0 equals 1. Now on your own, try to find the points where you're going to use for each of these expressions. Okay, so for the first one, for the blue one, I cannot plug in negative infinity, so I will have an arrow for this part. The second point, I got 0, 1, so I'm going to go 0, 1, and it is going to be colored in because it is included. Okay, so now for the other half with my arrow, I have to look at the slope. It is 3x. So my slope would be 3. So it will be 3 over 1. If I was going to continue the graph, I would go up 3 over 1, up 3 over. Also need to go backwards. Down 3, back 1. Down 3, back 1. Right there. Okay, and then that will be a line. Okay, let's pretend like that's blue. However, because right here it says less than negative infinity to 0, that means everything above 0 does not really exist. So I have to go ahead and erase this section. Okay, now looking at my second expression, I have 0, 0, which is going to be right here, and it is going to be open because it is parentheses. Then my second point is 2, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is also going to be open. Now anything between 0 and 4 will be included for this expression. So I'm going to connect my my 2 points. I need to make sure my slope is correct. Well, actually, this is not a linear, this is an exponential. So I need to curve it and make it look like an exponential function, not a linear function. Okay, and then my last expression is going to be this negative 2. At 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and it is going to be a colored in dot because it is a bracket. And then everywhere on here, no matter what value I have, I will still get negative 2 as long as it's between 4 and infinity. My infinity is telling me I'm also going to have an arrow, so it's going to look like this. Okay, and that is your graph for this part of the piecewise functions. If you have any other questions, make sure to come into tutorials Thursday after school. You do have your test on Friday. Thank you.